We have people who understand business model. Let's say a finance optimization problem for an oil and gas business versus a telecom business. I have different ways to look at it. So the first thing which KPMG brings in is the industry knowledge. We understand what's relevant to you and to your customer. There couldn't have been a better thing to happen to us than the progress in technology, and especially information technology. In the past, the big companies could be bigger because they had more capital, access to resources, and they could dominate the market. And now comes technology, which is a big leveler. So the same thing which a big company can buy, a small company can also buy. And they can have the same kind of benefits and same kind of outcome. In fact, sometimes technology is the friend of a small company than of a big company, because big companies will take more time to adopt versus a small company. But what most people miss is that the cost you pay for buying technology is actually very misleading. That's not the total cost. The total cost of running a technology is much more than what you see on the face of it. Remember buying a printer at home and you would have thought, hey, this sounds very cheap. I should get this printer at home. But I'm sure you know that the cost of a printer is only about 20% of what it costs to actually print. Because over the lifetime of printer, you'll spend more money on ink and paper than you'll spend on the printer. And that's the same thing that you can buy technology and feel happy saying, hey, I got a great technology. But that's just the beginning. You will have to spend a lot of money to run, maintain, and most importantly, keep it secure. So as I said that the small companies have advantage of adopting technology easily, they have a disadvantage of being able to keep it secure. Because buying is easy, securing is harder. And that is why the companies which are going in for extreme digitalization for all good reasons, either it's by becoming more available to the customers, or creating better customer experience, or generating more profits because the technology brings productivity, I think sometimes they miss the big picture of the cost it takes to make it secure. So my first advice to companies is that when you look at technology, don't look at the sticker of what you buy, but look at how much does it cost to actually run, maintain, and secure it. And second, is that the speed with which the technological changes are happening, it's very hard for us to keep pace, and especially for companies which don't have enough resources to keep pace with the new challenges and new vulnerabilities. So my big advice to people is saying, just because you think you can afford it is a bad idea to invest in it. First, you need to know, can you secure it? And if you can secure it, you should go. So that's my advice to companies here in Sri Lanka. Both these businesses are kind of becoming 24/7. So when you are a customer of a bank, or when you're a customer of a retail company which offers digital commerce online, you don't expect them to work during business hours. The business hours are 24/7. And that puts a lot of pressure on two things. One is that you have to be available at all time and yet remain secure. You cannot afford to have any downtime. And as we all know, to keep technology secure, sometimes we may have to kind of shut it down. So that's the one big challenge, saying how do you keep it secure? And that's how the cloud computing comes in, where you can actually keep it secure while running it. But that's a big challenge that the companies have. The second big challenge, which I'm sure many of the people listening to me would be familiar with, that there is a huge demand for keeping the data of personal individuals private. So we can no longer take the liberty of the data which we collect. In the past, we said, okay, if this is the data I've received from a customer, I should be able to use it for my purposes, cross purposes, marketing, targeting, selling, or whatever. But we all know that the government is coming up with a new law, which will make it very difficult for companies to use data for the purposes beyond what it was collected for. And that is a big challenge the banking, insurance, and retail industry have to do, is how do they protect the data which they collect, not of their own, but of their customers. And there are huge nuances around it, because as you all know, in these industries, you don't do everything on your own. You use subcontractors, third parties, other business partners. So you could protect the data, but are these data being protected by those third parties? So for example, if you're a bank and you use other people who process your data, a call center which is not yours and all of that, how do they make sure that that data is protected? So that's one very big challenge for the banking, insurance, and retail industry. The second big challenge for these guys is to make sure that the people who use these technologies are actually aware. And I always say that, there are three things in life which require a license. To get married, you need a license. To own a gun, you need a license. And to drive a car, you need a license. Because all these things can cause harm not just to you, but to somebody else. But in today's time, owning an online account for banking doesn't require a license. I can receive an online bank account without knowing much about it, and that could cause a lot of harm. So one of the big challenges these businesses, especially in the banking industry, have to deal with is that how do they educate people that their inability to understand this complex technology can cause self-harm and to others. So there are a lot of cases where people have been defrauded because they are phishing, scam, and other kind of things. So how do you make sure that people, when they use online system, digital commerce, they know how to use it? So education, awareness, and making people understand that things can go wrong at speed and scale is a very important challenge these companies have to deal with. First of all, I must congratulate the regulators here in Sri Lanka and the entire insurance industry taking this journey on IFRS 17. It is one of the progressive standards and bring everybody to an international standard, which is very, very good. But IFRS 17 convergence or transition isn't an easy journey. It requires huge challenges to make the systems work in a different manner, to look at the different kind of revenue and expenses in a different manner. So leaving aside the business part of it, let me talk about some of the technological challenges which come with it. First and foremost, that the data which sat in many systems is now coming together. So how do you make sure that the data which earlier sat in different places actually comes together in a manner which you can rely and trust? So more than just the plain confidentiality of data, I think it's about the integrity of data, which is very important. So when companies go in for IFRS 17, the big challenge they have to deal with is that the data which they have and the data which they will use in the future is in sync, is of high quality, is of high integrity. Second is that in the past, when the systems are decentralized, fragmented, sometimes it's easier because even if something goes wrong, it goes wrong in pockets. But when in the new era, when everything comes on a centralized platform, everything together, it becomes a single point of failure. So your ability to protect that may not be as much if you did what you did in the past. So you have to upgrade your controls and standards to make sure that this central system now is far more powerful and is also vulnerable. So upgrade your capability and security. So the 2 points, one is data integrity, and second is system security, are extremely important part of the journey to get to IFRS safely. As I said, technology is a dual-edged sword. It brings huge benefits because you can, with a small thing, get great outcomes. But it also comes with huge disadvantages, which basically means that if it goes wrong at one time, it can go wrong forever. So the ability to control the bad outcome is very, very difficult in technology because everything is straight through. There are no controls in between and things go very, very fast. There are several challenges which the companies, especially in the retail industry, have to deal with. I talked about the privacy. That's like one of the big challenge. But the second big challenge is how do you create a consistent user experience? So imagine I'm shopping, I'm a particular age, my daughter is shopping, she's at a particular age, and my mom is shopping, she's a different age. Can I offer them the same experience? The answer is no. I need to offer them different kind of experience because their way of doing business is very different. I'll give you an example that, on the last Mother's Day, I got a gift for my mother. And then I thought, let me buy a gift for my daughter as well on behalf of my wife. As I took the gift and I gave it to my daughter, she just wrapped around the whole thing in maybe less than half a second. And when I gave a similar gift to my mother, she took 10 minutes to unwrap the gift, folded the wrapping paper and put it back for some other use. So these are the two different generations I'm dealing with, where the retail industry cannot have one face to all these generations. So when it comes to digital, many people tend to have unified interface. And that I think is a big challenge. So those companies which have evolved and they have different interfaces for different people also have to deal with the challenge because you are talking about now not protecting one type of thing, you're talking about protecting 10 different type of things. I'll give an example in the banking industry. 10 years ago, the only way to do online banking was through a computer. So you went on a computer, there was a browser, each bank had one website. And whether you access it from your computer, I access it from my computer, this was just one website. But in today's time, the banks have websites and also mobile interfaces. And at any point in time, you will have to serve customers of Apple iOS, you'll have to serve customers for Android. You may have to even serve customers for other platforms like BlackBerry or other operating system. And each of these, I'm sure you'll be serving today an Android 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or similarly on iOS. So at any point in time, a bank is running about 20 different types of systems. So imagine protecting one system 10 years ago, which was hard, and now protecting 20 different types of systems. So the world is going to become more complex while it looks easier on the face of it. I'll give another example of technology which actually mimics this challenge or syndrome. If you go back 50 years ago, the cars were much more simpler, but their controls looked more complex. And today you get into a car, let's say a Tesla, the controls are very, very simple. You actually don't even have to change many things. The computer does everything. But under the hood, it's a very complex technology. So sometimes we get carried away that what looks simple, we believe may be simple. So the simpler it looks, the more complex it is. And that is the challenge. Especially when I deal with the CEOs of large companies, they say, hey, this technology is so simple, why can't I use it? I said, the fact that it looks simple is the reason you can't use it, because you need to do a lot of complex engineering to make it happen. So that is sometimes the challenge the CEOs face. They believe that something looks so simple, it must be simple to protect. That's not the case. So the retail industry is also dealing with that multitude experiences and those kind of big challenges, despite having invested in technology. Technology has been a big boon, especially for the consumer industries. The industrial technologies have been with us for a very, very long time, but now consumerization, putting technology in the hands of consumer, has made it very easy. And I always say that the CEOs are very commercially savvy, and sometimes most CEOs are greedy. They want to make more money. So when they find something which can make more money by spending less money, they just lap it up. So in the last few years, cloud technology, mobile technology, and now AI, these are the promises of technology which are saying you spend less and get more, and all the CEOs are going towards that, which is a great news. But what the big challenges which come with it is that the people who are supplying technology, they also find this a great opportunity. So if you go back many years ago, there were fewer companies which were building technology solutions, and now there are many companies which are building technology solutions because it's a very lucrative market. So there's a huge demand for technology, and therefore there's a huge supply of technology. And when something like this happens, you have a problem of plenty. And I'll give you an example. There was an experiment conducted many years ago in a superstore in the US. And one group of people was presented 6 different jams, saying, which one would you like and which one would you buy? And another set of consumers were given 36 flavors of jams and says, which one do you like and which one will you buy? And one would imagine that people who have been given more choices will be happier. But actually the outcome was different. The people who were given fewer choices, they took time to decide which one they like, and they say, yeah, I like this one, I'm not like this. But they finally bought something which they felt was liking to their taste. Even after buying, they went home with a little bit of regret, saying, I wish I could have bought an orange marmalade instead of a strawberry jam. But imagine that these 36 people, these people who were presented with 36 choices, they actually couldn't even buy. Because the choices were so many. They said, I like this, but I like this too, and I like this one too. I'm not sure, maybe I like that one. So they spent more time tasting, sampling, and maybe not buying. And those who bought, they actually went home very, very sad, because these guys had 5 regrets of not buying. These guys had 35 regrets of not buying. So when you have too many choices, it becomes very hard to make decisions. So right now, the big challenge is saying, which technology do you buy? So that's where KPMG first comes in, to say that, which technology should you buy? Because this is a very important decision you would make. You shouldn't be having time in life to sample 36 flavors of jam and buy one. That's where KPMG says, we tell you what it is more important and what's relevant to your business. Because all 36 jams are tasty, but which one is more relevant for you? So looking at your business, your industry. So that's the first thing which will come in when it comes to technology. The second big challenge, which once the companies have bought this technology, to say, how do we make it secure? And the challenge is that, the more choices you have, the more integration and more problems you create in your environment. And that's where we come in to say that, we can help you secure not everything, but what's relevant. I'll give you another example. When you leave your home to come here, do you lock your main door, or do you also go lock every bedroom and every bathroom? Now, I'm sure you might have a key and lock to every bedroom and every bathroom, but you don't come here every day and do it. So you say, okay, my risk today is that I'm going out for 4 hours. I'll come back to just lock the main door. But when you go out for a vacation for, let's say, 15 days, you may lock few bedrooms as well. But I think it'll be rare in your life to actually go and lock your bathrooms, even though the bathrooms have a lock and key. Now, many businesses, when they buy technology, all the technology have lock and key. So every day morning, they lock and key. They lock every bathroom, every bedroom, and every door, which they don't need to do. So our job as KPMG is to say, what is the risk? What are you trying to protect? One of the big value we as KPMG provide is saying that do not try to protect everything to the highest level. If you try to protect everything to the highest level, you are actually spending more money than it is required. So how do you do the balance of risk and reward is a very big challenge. There's more money you can spend to secure everything, but it's not worth it. So how do you make sure that what's the right value for money? The third thing which I want to talk about again, there's a plethora of technology, which is again creating big challenge in our world. I went to a conference, there were about 500 people, and I asked them a question saying, show me your right hand if you think that you would like to have a technology wherein you write 3 bullet points and it creates a beautiful email which you can send it to your entire staff. Would you like to have it? And I said, well, maybe 500 hands went up. They say we all need this technology where I write the 3 bullet points and it makes a nice email. And I said, show me your left hand if you receive a long email and says, I wish I could press a button and get into 3 bullet points. And I'm sure 400 hands went up as well. So many times there's a lot of technology, which I call technology for the sake of technology. So we are creating technology which will turn 3 bullets into long mail and the same technology to turn it back into 3 bullet points. So why are we creating so much of digital trash? And that's the whole thing which I want to talk about when KPMG comes in saying that cut the trash, but focus on what's core. This technology is important, but not for every email. This technology is valuable. So how do you again apply security also in a manner say, this is relevant and that's not relevant. So in summary, I would say the first one is that we help businesses make choices. Second is we help businesses understand what's relevant for your industry, your business. The same SAP system can work for a bank, can work for a defense company, can work for a retail outlet, or can also work for KPMG. But how it works for you is different than how it works for me. So how do we customize and make it very relevant to you? And the third one is that we come here and tell you what is value for money. Just because I can protect, I must not protect. So find the risk reward equation and put your money at right place. We at KPMG bring in a very unique combination of various skills. As I said before, that technology for the sake of technology is a bad idea, and not understanding technology and the challenges it can bring is worse. So at KPMG, we bring in a multidisciplinary team to solve the big problems together. So the first one is that we have people who understand business model, the industries. So when I try and solve, let's say, a finance optimization problem for an oil and gas business versus a telecom business, I have different ways to look at it. So the first thing which KPMG brings in is the industry knowledge. We understand what's relevant to you and to your customer. I'm sure every CEO wants to say that I'm in business because of my customers. And that's the mantra which we have, saying that we understand our customers and their customers. The second thing is that we have a range of capabilities on all kinds of technologies which you might be worth dealing with in today's time. So rather than you having to invest many things in many places, we bring expertise to make sure that we bring people who understand business and interface with the technology and the outcome. And the third thing which we try and bring in is how do you induce trust in everything which you build. So you can bring lots of different systems and bring them together, but they may or may not work, or they may just go wrong. So how do you build a layer of trust around all of that? That's one of the strongest capabilities which we bring in to say that we will deliver systems which will do what they're supposed to do and will not do what they're not supposed to do, and will always remain in a relatively secure, a reasonable secure position. And last, we are not here to come and tell you what to do. We actually make it happen. But more importantly, we say we are not only here to build a technology solution and go out, we are here with you in the journey as part of our managed services offering. So when we are in, I would love to say that our clients are happy and peaceful.